including tariffs increment that they've announced. So these are the reasons. And therefore, I will yield the floor to members who would like to make a comment or ask a question if it's not clear on certain areas. So the floor is for members. But please, I want it to be orderly. If you have not been called, don't talk. So I'm going to follow based on people who are ready and have gotten up. I'll call them the person who raised the issue. We will listen to about 4 or 5 comments or questions. Then I'll ask them to respond. Then we will go back to members. So let me start from Oforikru.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, listening to the Mr. Chairman, listening to the Director of PURC, the Chief Executive, the Executive Secretary of PURC, Dr. Shafiq Mahama, it leaves me with so much doubt because earlier in the year, PURC announced major increases in tariffs for electricity and water. Cumulatively, electricity increment amounted to about 18% and water 4%. And I remember clearly during those periods when we questioned the increment, they made comments to the effect that one of the key factors that affect tariffs is inflation and the FX position, that's the dollar to CD rate. And I remember in one of the meetings that we had, which also had ECG and other agencies coming, I raised this issue and they indicated then that they did not have at that point the projection of how the dollar was going to go or the CD was going to go. We can all attest today that inflation is coming down and the CD rate has been quite stable between, even BOG is using around 10.4 and about 11.4 today. So what is really causing them to increase tariffs at this rate? Water 15%, electricity 9%, especially when today most of our constituencies are experiencing a lot of blackouts. We are not getting water through our pipes. And time upon numbers, all the periods that we met with them, the executive secretary will attest that I have complained severally that in my neighborhood, we don't get water from Ghana Water. You are not giving us water, you are not giving us quality service delivery, yet you are asking us to pay so much. And apart from that, Mr. Speaker, apart from that, Mr. Chairman, sure, apart from that, we are all aware that currently the energy sector is receiving funds from that 1 CD levy that was passed in this chamber, which is supporting buying of fuel and paying of legacy debt. So all these are benefits going to the energy sector. And we expect that the inefficiencies in the system will be addressed instead of this kind of increment that is coming from PURC. So I'll be waiting for the answers from the Chief Executive. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Honorable members, once again, I want to implore you to be a bit snappy. If you are asking questions, I wouldn't say don't lay foundation, but just be straightforward so that we can take more questions. I beg of you. Yes, Frank Ajay.
Chairman, thank you so much. Chairman, may I thank you and then the Executive Secretary and to ask for more clarity from the team in terms of the investment plans of Ghana Gas. We have heard you with rapt attention give us the investment plans of water company and then an electricity company, but we have not heard what really warranted the increment as far as the Ghana Gas investment plan is concerned. Then again, if I'm right, I think the last time you did the multi-year tariff review was in 2022, isn't it? And then the figures, if I recollect properly, for electricity then was around 27%, then water 21%. So since this is a house of record, it means that under the reset agenda, it has not been increased. It has rather been scaled down a bit. That clarity should be emphasized. Thank you.
Very well. Hold on. I'll take 5. Leader, will you wait for your members so that I come to leadership? If you would, you are not bothered. Let him do it. So let him go. Yes, Brekum West.
Thank you very much, Chair. Mine is a suggestion to the Executive Secretary and the Commissioners. The Executive Secretary alluded to the stakeholder engagement they conducted across the country, and that is very important. But as we know, we, the members of Parliament, are the biggest stakeholders in Ghana. All the 276 constituencies have representations here. So prior to announcement of this nature, I would like to suggest that Parliament is engaged in a manner we are having now, so that before the announcement comes, we would educate our constituents through media the need for having this increase. You've explained the need to have investment in order to save the energy sector. They need to have investment to secure energy security, which is very important. But when people are not educated enough about this need, then the narrative out there is different. So we should have had this engagement, and with this information, we could have explained before the announcement is made. So prior to next announcement, in your stakeholder engagement, don't leave the biggest stakeholders. This is the whole of Ghana here. Thank you.
Honourable members, we are using only one microphone. So, who is having his microphone on? Very well. So, let me go to Mansour Akroso, the ranking for Mines and Energy Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Executive Secretary. My honorable lecturer. At the time when we met, I think we discussed a lot of things. And you let us understand that VRA, ECG, Power, and the other utilities were demanding some increment on their service charges. But first of all, we don't know what you and them have arrived at what percentage so far, because giving us 9.86% increment, without we knowing those utilities, how much were you able to offer them? That is one. And we all know there's a lot of waste in our system. That is why always we are increasing our utilities, especially electricity. So you have to let this house know, what are you going to do? Because as I'm speaking, we have about 32% waste in the system. You are aware of that. So if we have 32% waste, and currently the demand is around 3,500 megawatts, and you have about 32% waste, that amounted to around 1,120 megawatts, which is going waste. So let us know what you are going to do to try much as possible to reduce this waste. Because the SDG 7 talks about efficiencies. Because without efficiencies, there will be disparities in the system. Some people will be paying high, and some too may be enjoying without paying anything. That is what is going on in Ghana. So if we have 32% waste where some people are not paying anything at all, and only few are always, they are being stressed, or they are being forced to pay a new rate. I don't think that is the way to go. So let this house know, what are you doing? Because per my own calculation, we are losing about $80 to $90 million every month on waste. Yes. I know technical losses we can't do anything about until we improve our equipment, as you were saying. But on the commercial aspect, which we need to do something about that. So tell us, and then let us know what were you able to give to the other utilities on their demand. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll take the last question. And yes, my brother.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for this opportunity. I'm grateful, but I want to make a formal request and also confirming that what the CEO mentioned about the low voltage within Pandai and its other constituencies around is true. It's very true. The voltage is so bad that it affects even up to Walensee. And I'm pretty sure that maybe if your research is gotten right, then you realize that Walensee has a very wider landmass. But in terms of coverage, we are very less compared to Pandai, even though our landmass is bigger than Pandai. But I will be asking that you consider in that constituency that we have about 62 communities that do not have light. And others were, about 3 of them were wired from 2017 till date. We've not gotten light in them. So mine is just a formal request I'm making and also confirming that what you said is really true about the low voltage. Thank you very much.
My brother, put off the microphone. Very well. So let me revert to the Executive Secretary to respond to the earlier concerns and questions. Then we'll come back to members. But honorable members, our guests are here because of our invitation. But you could see a lot of people are checking out from the chamber as if we are not interested in this discussion, which is very, very important. Anyway, So, my brother, you may respond to.
Okay, thank you, Chair. The first question on the MITO, that's the issue relating to the quarterly adjustments and then the multi-year tariff order. We indicated at the beginning that there's a difference between the quarterly tariff adjustments and then the multi-year tariff order. The quarterly tariff adjustment looks at the 4 macroeconomic parameters, including the hydrothermal mix, inflation, exchange rates, and then what we call WACOG, then weighted average cost of gas, and then the hydrothermal mix. But then the multi-year tariff order looks at, which is, the quarterly is done every quarter, every 3 months. We consider the variability of these variables, as the macroeconomic variables, to assess the tariff. But the multi-year tariff looks at the investment or the capital investment requirement of the utilities over the period of 3 to 5 years. So more or less reassessing the asset base of the utilities to let it reflect power supply stability, and to also let it reflect the investments required to maintain the networks. Okay, so that's very important. So this current announcement was the multi-year tariff order. The previous ones are the quarterly adjustments, the one from the beginning of the year, mid, and then this is the multi-year tariff order. So there's a distinction, even though we still consider the macroeconomic variables for the multi-year. The emphasis is actually on the investment requirements of the utilities. So on the issue of Ghana Gas investment, I'll leave some of the questions to my colleagues to help answer. On the issue of Ghana Gas investment, I'll just mention a couple of them. I came with a list of, so for example, they requested for a gas chromatography and physical meter on the gathering assets. So we captured that as part of their critical investments. And then they also requested for a GPP particulate filter provision at reception facility, which has been captured, which is very critical for them. And they also requested for a distribution valve station. And I think we even indicated the project benefit. For example, the gas chromatography, the project aims to ensure accurate gas measurement and compliance with the new contractual gas specifications, including limits on impurities such as black substances and water content. These are the benefits that we indicated. In fact, they provided the justification, and we captured it before allowing the assets to be passed through into the tariff. Moving to the other question, whether or not we engage extensively on the stakeholders. In fact, we engaged the Committee on Energy. We also engaged the Finance Committee. We went further to engage the Water and Sanitation Committee. And hopefully, because of the time we worked with, we hope to engage extensively. In fact, we book a session to engage leadership of Parliament, and we also book a session to even engage speakers as well. But the timelines couldn't permit us to do the extensive engagement. Because the more extensive the engagement, the lesser the impact after the announcement. So we are also working hard to continue with the engagement. But, Chairperson, on record, this is the only time we did extensive engagement on the tariff. We did about 10 regions, and we also did major stakeholders engagement as well. So we will also, with the MITO, we will go further to publish what we call decision notes. Decision notes, we'll make them available on our website soon, explaining all the steps that we've undertaken to arrive at the 9.86% for electricity and the 15.92% for water. So the decision notes will also be made available as soon as possible so that every other, the public can have access to it. With the losses, and then what are we doing to help ECG and Ghana Water reduce their losses? some of the investment they requested for, like the boundary meters, is a very critical input point to actually help mitigate the commercial losses. And also some of the upgrades they are requesting for, like the distribution line strengthening and all that, are part of ways of reducing the technical losses. And then, I mean, there's also a suggestion that a PSP, that's private sector participation, would be encouraged going forward so that, I mean, the collections from various sectors can be looked at. I mean, obviously we know the benchmark for distribution losses is still very high, even though the Commission uses a 21% benchmark. I mean, the ECG still does quite a higher number. But the tariff system makes room for what we call incentive-based regulation. So, I mean, there's a punishment when they exceed the benchmark. Gridco, for example, does very well with the transmission losses. So we are encouraging the ECG to also learn from what is happening there. And as well, a company like EPC, Enclave Power, which also does distribution within the industrial sector, also does very well with their distribution losses. So as for ECG, we are collectively looking at how best we monitor the activities to ensure that the distribution losses are reduced. The immediate thought is the PSP, which is expected to help improve, bring investment within the distribution network, and as well monitor the commercial losses. ECG also requested for over 880 meters, for their customers, which as well will help reduce the commercial losses going forward. But it's a problem with regards to the losses within the sector. On the Walensee issue, I mean, the Eastern Corridor investment, a huge investment that if we had to look at including into the tariff, I mean, and then we are also leveraging on the commitment from the Minister of Energy and Green Transition and Minister of Finance to also look at it, because we are seeing it because of the low SLTs, what we call high consuming customers along the area. Is actually going to be like a social investment. And I think there are very limited consumers, and there are also very limited large-scale consumers along the line. But we are still proposing that, I mean, we add part of it to the tariff, and as well let the major sector ministers understand that they need to take up that project and complete it. It's over $320 million. I mean, we've captured part of it into the tariff to commence the investment or the projects, and then hopefully the government will take it up as a social investment to improve the sector. So I'll leave the rest of the questions to... You said it all. Okay. I've been told that I've said it all, so thank you.
Thank you very much. So you take the second round of questions or comments, and I will begin from Ahafuano North.
Thank you very much.
That's Tepa.
Thank you very
Honorable
much.
Nanajiman, let's hear you.
Honorable Chair, the announcement will come, and Ghanaians have no choice than to accept it and contribute to the economy. But I want to talk about quality service. I want to draw your attention to something that is going on so that you look at it. In part of Tema Enclave, specifically the Tema West area, I'm talking about Sakumono, Klagon community, 18, 19, 20, and Lashibi areas. Sometimes, within the month, 3 weeks, there will be no water supply. And sometimes the whole month, but bills will come for you to pay for water. Now, the serious thing is that there's this rumor going on that the private vendors who supply waters are conniving with the water company, and therefore they will not supply the water so that residents will buy water from them. I live there. Sometimes in the month, you buy more than 2,000 It's serious. So it's a rumor. I don't have evidence, but that is what is happening. As for the shortage of water, it is there. The areas I have mentioned. So do your investigation to find out. Quality service is important. People will be ready to pay for the bills, all right, but they need quality service. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Nana Jumai. Yes, my brother, let me come to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, may I start by commending the Executive Secretary and the team. The increment of approximately 9% for electricity and many other really is something we have to explain to the Ghanaian. More so because we are looking at the ordinary consumer of these services rendered by government. What I'm saying is that if you look at the ordinary group of people who are given a threshold in terms of consuming electricity, the 9% increment will be much more impactful, not because it's high, but because a lot of households are on the same meter. That puts them above the ordinary or the low-income earners threshold you have. So in the case of this investment, I am appealing to PURC to enforce that, said that they invest more in metering. For instance, you go to some of the rural areas, a whole section will be depending on just 1 meter. And that puts them above just the ordinary man at the ordinary income earner level to a higher level that will make their electricity consumption very high. And by so doing, they see the little increment in tariff to be much more impactful, not because it's so high, but because the metering system has put them in a different class. So in this, it is important for us to be able to invest deeply or highly in this area of metering, so that households are able to get meters. And once you are a little household and you fall within that small, the first or low-level category, the impact will not be felt that much. And if this is done, I'm sure it's going to be a very good move for us to be able to explain to the ordinary Ghanaian why we have to increase this to bring about stability in our country. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let me turn to Akim Oda. Honorable Kwasi.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I wonder whether the PRC took into consideration, following from my colleague's question, when they were interacting with the people, how difficult is it for people to acquire meters? Because like he said, it's one of the surest ways that we can help our constituents in reducing their costs. And then secondly, with regards to water, we know the devastating effect of galamsey. During their interactions, did it come up that Ghana Water is suffering because of the upsurge of galamsey activities?
Thank you very much. No, let me go to lawyer. Is it Tema West? Yes. Before I come.
Thank you very much, Chairman. I also want to go back on this issue of water supply in the Tema area, particularly around the Lashibi, Sakumono area. Indeed, it's a very, very huge problem. Like the earlier speaker said, sometimes within a whole month or two, there are no water running through the taps. And it's a very, very critical situation. I personally made some attempts. I spoke to Ghana Water, spoke to some other stakeholders. And the information I got was that the Teshi Nungwa desalination plant, yes, it's not Teshi Nungwa. They say it's Nungwa very well. The desalination plant has not been operational for some time, and the situation was that it used to supply portions of Tema, especially the Lashibi Committee 20 area, and because it's not operational, that has also contributed to the lack of water running through our taps. And indeed, I further probed into the matter, And what came up was that the previous government did owe the operators. I understand it's been given to a private company that is running it. And then there's some backlog of payment to be made, which is owed the operators. And as a result of that, they are not able to do the necessary maintenance and put the place into operation for us to get water. So I also want to bring this to your attention. That this is a critical matter. If there are any monies that have to be paid to the operators, so the place can be operational.
Thank you so much. Yes, let me go to Offense North.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. We all know that we are concerned about cutting down losses, both at generation, transmission, and distribution. And as the Executive Secretary made mention of, they use inflation in calculation of their tariffs. And the projected third quarter inflation the PRC used was 20.67, if I'm correct. And we know month-on-month inflation has been coming down, so the average should be about 12.1 thereabout, or 12 . That means if they can explain to us how they calculated this projected inflation of about 20.6 for the third quarter. And if so, then of course, Ghanaians are being overcharged, and we may have to reduce or review this tariff, the percentage way downwards. So if we can get some indication, because they reviewed that to about 18.4. So please, if you can give us a little bit more details into this calculation. And Mr. Chairman, maybe Parliament may have to employ some SASCA services support in calculation of these figures. We believe Ghanaians are being overcharged. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let me, having listened to the voice of a lady. Yes, Honorable Minister for Gender.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I think it's on the same issue. As we are looking at tariffs, it is important that I bring this to the notice of the House. I have engaged, I have done everything I need to do. The situation in Krowo and its environs, those that were benefiting from the desalination plant in Nungwa, are really, really suffering. And I believe that there was some arrangements which I was told that there will be water supply at least 3 times a week to the people of Krowo. And that I'm not too sure the entire township is benefiting from. The supply with the tankers, even the tankers have to go long distances. And it's not a situation that anybody will be so happy to enjoy now. And if we are looking at increasing tariffs, I believe that this should be corrected so that everyone, as a matter of right, it's affecting education, it's affecting health and sanitation. Just recently, I had to even engage APSA to drill a mechanized borehole at the polyclinic because they were suffering. And then Nungwa Secondary School, I've engaged APSA, they've drilled a borehole there because last year, the young ladies suffered from infections, varied infections. And if you have to encourage people to accept whatever tariff is coming, I think this is something that we need to look at. Whatever the contractual issues are, I think we should engage and find a lasting solution to it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Okay. Let me come to Guan before I.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, last one.
Mr. Chairman,
Honorable Member for Afia, I am managing my committee, so allow me to manage my committee. Honorable, let me listen to you.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. I have a concern
with Ghana Water and Electricity Company of Ghana. The expectation, Mr. Chairman, would have been that anytime you see new communities springing up, you extend these facilities to those areas before people will move in there. But they don't do that. They allow people to move in, then one person will manage and get a meter or get a light connected to his facility. Then he now becomes a supplier to other homes. And it becomes a business for the person. So if indeed we are calling on Ghanaians to pay more tariffs, then the expectation will be that you also manage the system well. You try and take care of the losses that we are incurring. Now, I have a problem with Ghana Water. They can afford to close the taps for as long as they want. They'll never give you an explanation. But when you default in paying your tariffs, immediately come and disconnect your water. And for water, it's such an essential commodity that I don't think that under any circumstances, homes should be disconnected because of non-payment of tariffs for water in particular. I don't know how you intend to balance a particular issue. It is sad, this morning I heard TURC complaining that you didn't engage them very well before you did this announcement. I don't know how true that is. If you are not, please, let's try and engage all the stakeholders. Let's get a buy-in of everybody before we put this issue out. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. So, honorable members, all those who are desirous to speak, hold on. Let me revert to the Executive Secretary to respond to 6 earlier comments or questions that has been put before him. So, my brother, you may respond to me.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. So the first question relates to quality of services of water supply at areas within the Greater Accra region. So the Commission as well takes into consideration quality of service provision of these various utilities. So we also take complaints from consumers, and we work hand in hand with the utilities to ensure that they meet most of those quality of service issues. So we would take the complaint and we would go back and quickly get the utilities to ensure that they explain to us why the challenges are being faced at the location. The second question came from my Honorable MP, Honorable Mohammed Bataglia, on the lifeline consumers and the issue of meters. Generally, what we realize from this investment hearing is that there's a shortage of meters from both NETCO and ECG. So they have also captured it in their various investment requirements. And then we also realize that there's a special need for meters in the north. And then we also realize that there are several shelf meters that are also being given to the consumers within especially the northern area, that are not being captured into the metering system of the utilities. So we are working with the utilities to resolve that, and then also ensure that NETCO has access to more meters so that they can be able to share adequately. The only challenge with the north is that about 80% of NETCO's consumers are lifeline. So as it is within the power sector, NETCO is also providing more or less a social service, because it's extremely difficult for NETCO to actually make any significant revenues. I think that's how come we tied NETCO's performance to VRA, so that it can be like a state supporting the electricity distribution. So it's extremely difficult for NETCO to make significant revenues. And some of the communities, it's even more expensive to get somebody to go and collect the tariff than to let the tariff even go. So there are issues and challenges with working with long distances within the NETCO area. On the issue of Galamsey, you realize that Ghana Water requested for the building of so many, or improvement of their laboratory and water intake points. They requested for investment to improve on that. So I think the Galamsey has a major problem, and we've seen that it has reflected in the investment requirement from Ghana Water. We've seen examples of water intake points in Konyako, and some parts in Kumasi that are having challenges because of Galamsey. That has also led to the high consumption of electricity at Ghana Water, which is affecting their ability to pay for power, and also the need for them to invest in laboratories to test the quality of water before it gets to consumers. So we are working hand in hand with them to ensure that we help Ghana Water to get out of the challenges we are all facing because of the high value of water. In addition to that, we are also extending the cash waterfall to Ghana Water to ensure that we tie the water supply to the revenues they get, to see how best we can influence, improve delivery of quality of service to the Ghanaian consumer. So water supply at Sakumono in some major areas within the Accra issue, we know that they are currently contractual, as one of indicated, contractual problems between the desalination plant and Ghana Water, and I think they are working on it to get it resolved for the desalination plant. And we also need the assistance of the House to actually consider the clean drinking water regulation in Ghana, so that in case Ghana Water is unable to even get water to the Ghanaian consumer and would require, and the consumer will require alternative suppliers like the tankers we see around. We want to be able to have the mandate to actually regulate the quality of water they supply, the equipment they are using. I mean, relatively to even the water they supply in Ghana Water, is far cheaper to buy from Ghana Water than to buy from these other service providers. In addition, Ghana Water gives you a more guaranteed quality because they have extensive laboratories to test the quality of the water being delivered. So, the inflation, the question on the inflation. So, for the MITO, we use an 8% inflation rate, right? Projections, yes. So for MITO, we use the 8% inflation projection for the tariff. There's a question on. So, yeah. On the water supply, Ghana Water.
Well,
thank you.
I hope it's okay.
Yes.
Yes. So I'll take the last round. I'll take the last round of questions. So let me go to Impraeso.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, while listening to the Executive Secretary...
Hold on. Honorable Dr. Asamoah, what are you saying?
Chairman, my question wasn't answered.
Your question wasn't answered?
Yes.
Was in respect
the issue of the calculation of the inflation.
Calculation of the inflation.
Yes, I indicated that we use 8% projected inflation for the MITO.
He said we use 8% projected inflation for the MITO.
And also on the rates, we have rate setting guidelines that are made available. Yes, we have rate setting guidelines that are also made available. You can access them and see the methodologies that we use in the calculation of the quarterly tariff and also the multi-year tariff order.
Mr. Chairman, my question was, how did they arrive at the 20.67 projected inflation figure that they used in their because
the 20, I think, I understand it was referred to the previous tariffs.
Yes. So we have 8% projected inflation used for the calculations that we are answering to now. So we don't know where the 20. Yes, that's why we are.
So, Honorable Member from Preso.
Mr. Speaker, whilst the Executive Secretary was giving his brief, he indicated that one of the reasons why they are seeking to increase tariff is that they want to ensure that electricity extension gets to 100% by a certain year. Well, you did not mention any specific year. But that has been the chorus that has always been sung when you are seeking justification for increment of prices. But I can tell you that there are communities where applications have been placed even to the ECG and some to the Ministry for Energy for electricity extension, and they are not seeing anything. How do we go to these communities
Is it electricity extension?
Electricity.
Extension?
Yes.
Yes.
That,
I have similar problems.
Yes. And even in the previous administration, there was a policy where MPs were being made to pay for the installation of the electricity materials while the government supplies the materials. To date, we have not gotten full complement of the materials, and we continue to bear cost. So how do I go back to my community to tell them that this is the reasons why PURC is seeking justification for UCG to increase, when indeed even efforts being made by these communities, contributions being made by them, are not being yielded to. So please, we need justifications for that. Give us reasons why you would want this increment done.
Thank you so much. Yes, Honorable, take the floor now.
Thank you, Chairman.
No. Okay, you speak. I was referring to, but you go on.
Okay.
Go on.
Thank you, Chairman. Chairman, I want to take this opportunity to appeal to the Commission to pay particular attention to power theft and power losses. It's a power theft and power losses.
Theft and losses. Okay.
Yes. Chairman, you go to many places, people do not have meters. So they have to do what they call illegal connections. Long distances, people have used electricity over years and they don't pay anything. So the Commission will have to pay attention to that in the provision of the meters so that the people can get their own meters. And in that case, they will be paying the right tariffs. Again, Mr. Chairman, I want to appeal to them to consider expansion, especially in my constituency, Pro West. We have electricity in major communities, but the population had outgrown what we were given. So because of that, there's too much load on what is happening, and it leads to frequent power cut in the area. But the major concern is the expansion and then the meters so that we can pay the rightful tariffs. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Yes, Honorable Isaac Boama.
Sorry, I was making this.
Thank you very much, Chairman. My concern, of course, just not necessarily constituency or metropolis specific, but just to let you know that within the Sekendi Takoradi metropolis, we've had serious challenges again with water provision. And we understand that Dabuase area, you're trying to build a plant or providing for a means through which we can get regular water supply within the Sekendi Takoradi and the Fia constituency. So if you could follow up for us to know how quickly we can get that supply of water. In terms of electricity, we are also getting a little worried about some intermittent power cuts. And so in terms of your rule, people are also concerned again about the speed with which PURC responds to complaints that are made against either the electricity company and Ghana Water Company. So if you could share with us as a house, do you have service charter that you've made available to these service providers so that we can also track the efficiency of your responses to complaints that come, so that at least the Ghanaian populace can be satisfied with the services that we receive from those companies. I thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Honorable, should I welcome you? Yes. So I will now revert to leadership.
Speaker, first of all, I want to thank leadership for acceding to the call for the PRC officials to be here. And we intend to sustain this engagement. At least every quarterly, the PRC must find their way here. We are the people's representative. And we'll make sure our oversight powers are not compromised.
Honorable
Make sure you do your work.
why?
Speaker, the PRC...
Yes, he's speaking.
Yes, I have the authority of
We are the
to
people's
represent
representatives.
So, PRC executive, and I see my good friend, Nanaya Jantua is here. You must psych up your mind. That seat you are sitting on, you'll be sitting on it more often. Now, I've heard you speak to, and I think it's for a good reason, the profiling of investment that various utility bodies have engaged in. And reasonably, I was anticipating that it will lead to a certain conclusion if they have engaged in all this proactive investment in their line of duty. Then we reasonably expect that it will also result in price reduction, kind of efficiency. But you spoke about all the investment, and then you left it hanging as to whether these investment is translating into good service delivery, and the cost of the service they are delivering is something you, with respect, you fail to relate to. And I'll be glad to hear you more on that. A while ago, I know the ECG, and here I'm not being partisan, ECG was collecting a revenue about some 900 million. That's annually, right?
No, monthly.
Monthly, yes, monthly. $900 million monthly ECG a while ago.
Cities.
Okay, so 900 million, my ranking is right by me, giving me the vocal support. That's why I have a good ranking. But you have a chairman. We are told now you are collecting, ECG is collecting some 1.7 billion cities. So 900, there's an increment to 1.7 billion. What is it translating to? In other words, forgive my language, and so what? They are now collecting 1.7 billion. How is it impacting on the consumer? It's a begging question which needs good response from you. I also think that back and forth you have displayed to us that you know your job, that's fine, but there's a question of enforcement because you have power, you have authority, there's a law backing you, you are not enforcing it. And so we will also come after you. If you will not enforce these against the utilities, Parliament will also come after you. Look, even Ghana Water Company and other service delivery is so poor. It's so poor. Because you know what I'm talking about. And we have PRC. And you are supposed to be the regulatory body, well, in terms of the financials, right? Then Energy Commission looks at the technical aspect. Do you have a relationship between Energy Commission and your good self? Because in other jurisdictions, I think the two are fused together. I don't know why we have ours separated. Maybe you are still a developing country, and we should be able to develop the template well. But how are we working to complement each other to the benefit of the consumer? As for the inefficiencies, it's so glaring. And we are easily passing it on to the consumer. Boss, that is what the reality is. We are easily passing it on to the consumer. And you mentioned engagement, you mentioned committees and all that. Why wouldn't you go and engage the market women in Agbogboloshi and all those places and all the people who use power and who are paying for it? They are the real consumers. They are the vulnerable groups that you should be engaging. If you come and engage Parliamentary Select Committee, you have not done anything. Go to Agogloshi, go to Mokola, go to all those places and engage the people. The next time you come here, we are going to ask you a question of your engagement. And we will not be convinced if you say that you met the Parliamentary Select Committee. That will not be convincing enough. Chief, with respect, you have your regulatory function or your regulatory functionality. It's being questioned here. And you have authority. We want you to exert your authority. Exert your authority, because the next time you come here, we are not going to treat you with kid gloves at all. Mr. Speaker, forgive me my language. But we are speaking for our people. This year alone, 4 times electricity you have increased. 4 times. Maybe what? 4 times. Not even a single reduction. If you have reduced, if we have enjoyed it, are you on the one on the seat?
Let him talk.
Speaker, you see what he's doing.
Stop.
Is it the Minister of State or the Deputy Minister for Finance?
So, Speaker, let me
Three ministers as members are sitting. I didn't get the impression as to the one we are speaking to.
I'm speaking to Honorable Ampim Dako.
Ampim Dako.
Yes.
Okay.
So, Speaker, our friend he's coming here for the first time. At least we must be diplomatic, and I want to be friendly towards him. But the next time you come, you will not find me as friendly as you are finding me today. So, 4 times you have increased electricity tariffs this year. No reduction. There's not been a reduction. Chief, what I'm saying is,
but this one is in respect of next year. It will take effect from January.
January 1st is the same thing.
January 1st. January 1st. So, our friend, we want you to function. You know, PRC has existed for a long time. Let the story be told that when you occupied that position, you made a difference. You made it regardless. That is what we want to be proud of. So when you are coming next time, prepare, because we will not be friendly to you again.
Thank you.
Speaker, thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes, Majority Leader.
I think we should thank the PRC and the management for responding to our invitation and briefing us extensively on what they are doing to fix the utilities of our country. There is no doubt that ensuring equitable access to potable water across the country requires a huge infrastructure outlay, and that costs money. Maintaining the infrastructure so that the facilities will continue to be available to citizens equally requires huge financial outlay. Producing the goods, which is the water, producing the electricity also requires a huge infrastructure and consequently a huge financial outlay. Some of it they can address, a lot of it they cannot at their level address. As a government, we are definitely taking measures to ensure that we intervene in the generation of electricity. I believe this House gave approval for us to be able to amend the rules regarding how we manage the Heritage Fund so that we can invest in energy generation ourselves instead of keeping our money in American banks and be taking 1% when we go and borrow at 7% to construct power plants, and then they sell the electricity to us at 5%, 7% plus when we are keeping our money with them and they are giving us just 1%. So there's a lot strategically that we are doing to generate electricity. Again, we also know that the fuel type that you use to generate electricity has an impact on the cost of the electricity. And as a government, there is a move towards ensuring that our power plants are powered using gas instead of, oil, which is more expensive. So when that happens, the price will definitely come down when it comes to the cost of generation. And when there's a reduction in the cost of generation, that can be passed on to the consumer by the government. It is only then that they can begin to ensure reduction in the price of the product, because when they calculate the price of the product and they look at how much it is being sold to the consumer, they can then have a case for demanding a downward trend in terms of the price of these utilities. But for now, it is obvious that the debt that these utilities owe, the inefficiencies in the system, the cost of production, the cost of extending the resource to every citizen across the country will definitely, in the medium term, require that they either maintain what we are paying now, or they will be forced to reduce what they, increase what we are paying, unless government finds a way to come in. So those are the issues that, inform the price increase that they have indicated. And we as representatives of the people definitely will not be happy anytime we hear of price increment. But we've invited you to come and explain to us the basis, so that if we get convinced, we can help you to explain to the citizenry exactly what the situation is. I've heard of private sector involvement in the distribution subsector when it comes to electricity. But I think that the same issues that plague the electricity sector also plague the water sector. That there are challenges with investments in the distribution for the electricity sector is the same as the challenges for investment in the water. And so I think that as we discuss private sector involvement in electricity distribution, we should also look at potentially, we already have private sector involvement in generation of electricity. And we say we need private sector involvement in the distribution so that there can be greater efficiency and then prices will come down. But we have even started looking at private sector involvement in the generation when it comes to water, the production. We definitely need that as well. We need private sector involvement in the production of water. And we also need private sector involvement in the distribution. That's something we must seriously consider. You go to countries like France and other places, and the production is done by private companies, and the distribution is by private companies. And the PURC of the world that are there, their concentration is to match cost with distribution and to be able to now determine how much you should sell to the private consumer. And it's working well. So we shouldn't shy away from private sector involvement in these matters, because now we have a situation where there are people with resources that can invest, and we should allow them to invest. We should look at a zoning arrangement, we should look at a concessioning arrangement, and then PURC can then, let's say the Ghana Water Company can focus on monitoring to make sure that the contracts are actually implemented, and then the PURC can then be an arbiter in terms of determining exactly how much they should be selling the commodity to consumers. I think that these strategic, structural issues must be looked at. We shouldn't run away from them. We can be doing the things that we are doing, but long term, it just will not solve the underlying problems. So on that note, we thank you for coming. Colleagues have raised their issues. As best as you can, try and address those issues. We do sympathize with the challenges of the utilities, but we also sympathize with the situation of the ordinary person and the capacity of ordinary people to afford, given the income levels in the economy and the burdens on citizens. So, yes, you are compelled, but find a way of compelling the utilities to be efficient. Because if they are efficient, then the efficiencies will reflect in the pricing of the commodity, and then the consumers can benefit. So you should be on the utilities. You should be on the utilities. Don't just be on the side of increasing prices, but be on the utilities. Because evidence has shown in the last 1 year that there could be improvement. There could be a lot of cost cutting, you know. And if you are not watching them, and then all the time you're asking we the citizens to pay, and we can see them driving in comfortable cars and then procuring when they don't need to procure, and we see the evidence, there will be resistance anytime you try to pass on the inefficiency, the corruption, and the wastage to the ordinary citizen. There will be a resistance. But if you force them and they are very efficient, and we see it, and then we look at the figures and we see there's a need for us to also contribute, we will contribute. But you don't leave them to do whatever they want to do with their money, and then you come to us that we citizens should pay. Why would we pay? There will be illegal connections. There will be illegal tapping of the pipelines. And people will see in their neighborhoods that their fellow citizens are illegally tapping. But because they sympathize with their fellow citizens, they will not help you. They will not. But if they could see that we are holding the utilities accountable, when we also ask them to contribute, they will contribute. So please focus also on that one. We thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Honorable Minister for Education, you indicated I wanted to just chip in something.
Mr. Speaker, sorry. When I came in, I didn't know the subject we're discussing. It's Honorable Felix who helped me that you are discussing PURC. And Mr. Speaker, two important issues. One is for them to take it up as a very critical matter, improving the ease of doing business in Ghana. The cost of electricity is a problem for the Ghanaian private sector, in particular the AGI. Best practice everywhere. Industry pays less than ordinary consumers. So go and make that your focus. What Ghana needs is an electricity pricing regime that favors industry. That is how you can create jobs, and that is how you can spare. Mr. Speaker, the other one is that I had the privilege to work on PURC. In fact, if you check your record, when you were being hyped to be disadvantaged, I did the work with Honorable Tawia Lekpalamo. So go through your record. But I'm raising this because at the time, Speaker Bagbin then was Minister for Water Resources, Works and Housing. When we're generating how you will survive, we dedicated point-something%. I can't remember, I don't have the report here. There was point-something% for PURC, and there was point-something% for water. I want to know the status of it because I served in that committee. And our recommendations was that part of the money which was to come to you, some of it was to be dedicated for water. But as I said, go and look for the Tawia Lekpalamo Committee report. It can help the ministry struggling because every other time when people pay their bills, a certain amount is generated into it. I just thought, Mr. Speaker, I should bring this to the fore. Bless you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable members, on behalf of the House, I would like to extend our gratitude to the Executive Secretary, the Director, and the Commission member for attending upon the House to respond to members, to discuss certain issues that were actually agitating members' mind since they are representative of the people. So once again, we are very grateful for coming to share with us. We thank you once again, and you are hereby discharged.
Thank you.
Honorable members, we will just lay one paper, some few papers, and we call it a day. Is that not the indication?
A few minutes while we're printing.
It's not ready yet.
A few minutes.
Honourable members, the House is reconstituted to plenary. Yes. Majority Leader, any indication?
Mr. Speaker, I think we can adjourn at this point. Virtual assets. Yeah, I mean, after yesterday's wrestling, this side is tired. We need to give them time to recover. We need to give them time to recover.
Honourable Leader, I think if you move a motion for adjournment, they will oppose it. That motion is likely to be opposed. So, have we done more than 5 hours?
Mr. Speaker, in any case, let me move that this House adjourns to noon tomorrow for the resumption of business.
Motion move for adjournment. Any seconder?
Mr. Speaker, I second.
I'm surprised. Honourable Body should have opposed this motion. Honourable members, motion moved and seconded. It is for the consideration of the House. Honourable members, I'll put a question. As many as are in favor of the motion for adjournment, please say aye. Aye. Those against say no. Honourable members, I'll put a question again. As many as are in favor of the motion for adjournment, say aye. Aye. Those against, say no. No. I think the ayes have it. This House is accordingly adjourned till Thursday, 11th day of December 2025 at 12 o'clock in the afternoon.